Hello students, in the previous sessions we discussed various types of speeches, and today we are going to take up a very interesting topic, that is critical analysis of speech. I'm sure all of you must have come across this term daily in your life, but have you ever stopped to think what it really means? It is usually considered a negative, fault-finding, criticizing process. Surprisingly, it's a positive, constructive process. And what is this constructive process? Today we are going to delve deeper into this aspect of a speech. So let's talk about what is critical analysis first. Critical analysis actually involves reading and thinking widely about any issue in order to develop a better and a deeper understanding of any issue or concern. It is actually a detailed investigation and also evaluation of someone's idea or work. So let's talk about the importance of this critical analysis. Why do we actually need to critically evaluate or analyze any piece of work? Yes, it is really very important. Why? It helps us understand the author's intent and the emotional appeal techniques. Secondly, it helps us to evaluate the soundness of key arguments that are being made in any given speech. Also, it helps us analyze the speech objectively, noticing all the biases and maybe some blind spots in the speech. Also, we have to consider various contexts, be it historical, social, political, or even personal context. And finally, it is very important so that we can distinguish between facts and opinion. So this is all about the importance of critical analysis. Now let's talk about this process. What are the various aspects of critical analysis? We have 6 aspects, namely purpose and audience, argument, structure, rhetorical devices, language and tone, and finally contextualization. We'll take up each in detail now. Let's talk about the purpose and audience of the given speech. It is really very important to understand who is the speaker addressing his speech to, and it helps us identify the effectiveness of any given speech. So when we are critically analyzing the speech, particularly the purpose and audience, we have to ask these 2 questions. First of all, why is this speech written? Finally, who is it written for? Now let's talk about the second important aspect, that is the argument. The main message or the argument is the core, or we can say the crux of any speech, and we must analyze it to find out how sound is the argument by assessing the evidence and reasoning that is being provided to support it. And yes, the question that we have to ask is, what are the main points made in that speech? Now let's talk about the structure. A speech needs to be analyzed based on its structure to ensure that there is a logical and effective flow of argument. Is it flow smooth or is it opposite? And we have to ask this question, is the flow of the speech smooth or not? Now let's talk about the rhetorical devices, and we have actually discussed this ample number of times. What is the impact of these rhetorical devices and how it leaves a lasting impression on the audience when the speaker is using and engaging the audience with the use of these devices. So we have to identify these rhetorical devices. It helps us realize the emotional impact of the speech, and the question that we have to ask is, which rhetorical devices have been used, whether it's repetition, call to action, emotional appeal, or rhetorical question, and many more. Then the most important aspect of critical analysis of a speech is language and tone. These are very important factors when we have to analyze the speech, and it helps us realize if the message in the speech is conveyed effectively or not, and also helps us find out whether there's a change in tone and words affect the impact of the speech or not. So we have to ask ourselves these two important questions. What is the tone of the speech? Whether it's sarcastic, it's humorous, it's informative, or anything else. And secondly, are there any words or phrases that stand out? As we have discussed in various speeches, there are certain words that actually emphatically used and impact the audience. And last but not the least, we have contextualization. Placing the speech in its given context is really very important. While considering the author's background, it reveals the biases and helps us distinguish facts from opinions. And we have discussed various kinds of context, be it personal, social, historical, and even political context. So the question that we need to ask ourselves when we are analyzing a speech is there any context that will add meaning to the speech? So these are various aspects and actually a constructive process of critical analysis. As we have discussed 6 different aspects of critical analysis of a speech, so you can see this is a graphic organizer in which you can place various aspects and understand any speech critically. Now students, that we have actually understood the process of critical analysis of a speech, now is the time to put this process into actual practice. Yes, we are going to critically evaluate and analyze a very important speech, a speech that was delivered by Greta Thunberg in 2019, and the title of the speech is How Dare You, that was delivered at the UN Climate Action Summit in New York. So I'm going to leave you with a very interesting task, that is, you have to scan the QR code that is given here and listen to this entire speech. After that, you have to think of any teenager who you think have sparked any social movement. And finally, the most important question, why do you think this speech is titled How Dare You? And who do you think Thunberg accuses and of what? I'm sure students, you would love listening to this interesting speech and get ready for critical analysis of this speech in the upcoming session. Thank you. Happy learning.